Now for the trade of today, right, GU still going for me, nice. Anyways, something to note, right, is even though we see a potential bearish liquidity grab based on taking this, in terms of an overall scale, we are still bullish, right? Because we are still potentially, right, looking at this from an overall perspective, right? 1, 2, 3, optimism, potential phase E. And what am I referencing here? Wrong one. There we go. What am I referencing? 1, 2, 3, optimism, phase D, phase E. That's what I'm referencing. So if I have an excuse to want to be long, it makes all the sense in the world for me to want to be long, because it doesn't make sense for this to come down here and then come back up. That's why I don't trust schematics that are, for example, like that. That doesn't make sense. From a Wyckoff perspective, this does not look like this, right? And especially if it doesn't fit volume, especially if it doesn't fit momentum, especially if it doesn't fit the overall narrative. Anyways, back to here, right? I am potentially looking for technically a reversal from a major intraday perspective, but my swing position bias is still the same, right? Even if we see a minor interruption based on this wick, the interruption is temporary because we know where our directional bias is. So based on that, right, what am I seeing here? I'm obviously seeing bearishness in terms of high, break of structure, low, retracement, continuation, retracement, continuation. But this continuation is not anything like this, right? When you compare this to this, right? This is much more slower. So that is very alerting in my opinion. Right, so taking this out. Right, like we were talking about, this, right, did not reach the potential POI that we would have wanted for the sell continuation. So now, I promise you, if we do reach back up here, people will try to sell. And it doesn't make sense now because we have solidified points. And that is technically picking a high if you want that continuation. So in reality, you'll probably get something like that if we reach back up here now. And if we do reach back up here, it'll only happen if we make a solidified low from a minor intraday, meaning we take the preliminary leg out. We'll zoom in there in a bit. But, right, first things first, right, compare this move to this move. It's very clear this is much slower. Momentum is slowing down. And we're starting to fit the narrative of the overall bias. So when I woke up today, the first thing I see, right, I know Luis caught this earlier last week, right, and I did like this as a potential schematic, and I do see a potential wick that created the move to the upside, meaning a reference point. So that's all I really care for right here. I don't really care for going to M15, M5, M1, picking the exact low. Why? Because technically I am picking a low from a major intraday. So in order for this to convert and give me upside movement, it's going to have to give me a very clear setup. It's going to take some time for this to reverse on me. And let me show you what I mean by that. As we are coming here into the reference point, right, once again here, see what I mean by these schematics don't make sense? These specific schematics don't make sense. This is what schematic 4 in that document I have in the Discord, right? Pretty much looking just like this. Something like that, right? I don't trust it. It doesn't make sense. right? So for one, right, you could say we are seeing a continuation BOS, a potential reversal, the final leg being taken out. But you got to keep in mind that that is only the retracement of high-low retracement. So, right, I'm not trying to buy here. I think that's picking a low. I think that doesn't make sense. I think you're trying to guess a reversal. It doesn't make sense. So, right, we're technically bearish, right? Because we have high, low, high, low, high, low, high, low, right? And this is the first time we're seeing any type of structure breaks, meaning this is now the pullback of high, low retracement. So let me take all that off. Anyways, right, so why is this red line here important? Right, this line dictates to me, right, as a potential liquidity grab. So the only way I'm going to take a continuation here is if we react from APOI. As you can see, that is the only candle that makes sense, but the candle was mitigated. So I'm trying to see what happens here, what happened here. So what do we see? Equal highs. Equal highs are then taken out, right? But we take this liquidity out as well, and then give the preliminary structure break, signaling to me a bearish liquidity grab, bearish movement, a continuation of the high up here. So the only thing that makes sense to me is this continuation, and this was my initial position today. Right, we see mitigation, internal break of structure, entry. This is my entry. So entry 1, break even, right? Remember what we said about solidified lows? This is the last time we see a solidified low. So this is a great TP1 from an intraday perspective, because even though I am continuing order flow, let's also be realistic here. I am selling deep in a discount. So from an overall perspective, if I can find my places to take partials, I'm gonna take my partials, right? Because I noticed that a lot of you guys will try to sell here and expect price to come down here. That's not realistic, because the impulse has already occurred. So you see what I mean by buy low, sell high, buy lower, sell higher, not sell low, not buy high. You see what I mean? So with that being said, this was my initial target here. Initial target, that was taken out, right? TP1 was achieved, right? But here's where the interesting part occurs, right? Because on top of the fact that we mitigated and then I caught the mitigation of that, something that gave me a clear sign was strong supply coming in based on the liquidity grab, increasing the probability of the trade. So as we come lower, we still see high supply. So technically, I don't see much of a problem, and I do see liquidity being purged eventually. So now, right, we do see that we are mitigating out of here. Right, and I noticed this, but I hesitated to buy here because I'm technically I'm literally picking a low, so it doesn't make sense. High supply, bearish liquidity grab, bearish order flow in play. It doesn't make sense, you know. So even though I noted that, we see that price here gave us unwillingness based on this low. Why is it unwillingness? Because we have a high, low, preliminary structure break, solidified low. We did not break previous low, unwillingness. Okay, so we have the unwillingness in play, right? And even though we are still bearish, right, we're coming back for this mitigation here. The mitigation is now in play, right? And if you notice in the picture that I sent in the group, I have this highlighted because I wanted to take the continuation here after this low here, which I didn't get, right? I was trying to get this inefficiency fill right here. But as you can see, we have a low retracement, unwillingness, liquidity grab to the downside. So this POI is now invalid. If we reach back up here, like we did, it's gonna break through because you're now breaking a structure and this is now picking a high. You see what I mean? So the thing is, right, we didn't reach here, so the order flow is, in my opinion, not the strongest anymore. 2, look at the supply. It is greatly diminished, even though we're seeing very impulsive moves, right? So now we have to think bigger picture. What was the original thing that we were looking at? This. We're thinking bigger picture. So I'm still in my position. I took my partial. I'm going to risk my partial profits for a potential hedge position. So as we are now continuing lower, I see an inefficiency fill here. So I took my hedge position here. My hedge position is in play. Oops, sorry. My hedge position here, I believe it was a 2 something. Yeah, 2.3. So this position, aiming obviously for, right, the previous high, right, not the mitigation, because if we bought here and now we're coming back up here, this is now unwillingness. Hold on, let me draw that. This is now unwillingness based on unwillingness, based on solidified low, based on POI, meaning bullish order flow. Okay, so bullish order flow is in play. We take structure out, making this solidified low, like we said, dictating to me that it's time to reverse. But it only made sense because of volume instability. It only made sense because of even though the order flow was technically strong, we never broke the overall leg, right? And I'm also hedging, being dynamic with this based on after being bearish here. So no matter what, I'm going to win. And as you can see, my TP1, oh, my intraday TP1, I'm sorry, this would be scalp TP1. Intraday TP1 is already a 1 to 10, and this is still going currently for 1 to 12, I'm sorry. So let me take all these drawings out because this has now confirmed something for me. Okay, so we have now taken out the final leg to the downside, right? And even though we had a liquidity grab, that has also now been taken out, meaning we have now have a conversion of structure, a conversion of order flow, right? And taking everything aside, what do I see here? One, 2, 3, 4, 5. Resupply. Resupply. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Right, seeing a type of conversion right? Keep in mind, high volume after as a potential LPS, right? We have our selling climax, right? Secondary test, initial optimism, right? Unwillingness, LPS1, LPS2, right? Not the best overall schematic, but it makes sense. Selling climax, secondary test, unwillingness, LPS, optimism. Right, so the only way this fails now is if we're referencing the entire leg and this now being in a premium, right? Even though we are technically reacting currently from here. Are we? Actually, no, we're not. Sorry, right here. Currently out of here. So, in my opinion, if we break this low, the idea is invalid. Right, so I actually have stops somewhere around here. And from there, we'll see where this goes. Either we're going to catch a really nice reversal or we're not. Either or. So will we see a late London move, or will we see, right, this being just a potential fake out and seeing a bullish engulfing on H4, maybe even see some higher movement up here, and we can even potentially see a very good daily closure, which would give us optimism to the upside. So who knows if this is time? For all we know, this could close just as is, and this could even come in and take the liquidity given to us in the relative equal lows. Even though it is potentially a mitigation, they are technically relative equal lows. So there's still the possibility that this could be 100% wrong, and we can still come down here and then go higher, right? So that's pretty much today's lecture. There is an efficiency there too. So who knows? Could reach down here and then go higher. Who knows? We'll see by tomorrow. But yeah, I mean, for all we know, I'm hoping this sustains us above. But yeah, with that being said, that's pretty much today's lecture. Honestly, I think I'm gonna cut that out, and I probably make that a video because I went pretty in depth on that one. But yeah, do you guys have any questions? Yeah, that was a pretty long one. Any questions, anybody? Or did you guys fall asleep on my lecture? Cool.